To today's video, we are going to be chatting about some of the worst things that I've been told as a bereaved mother in response to my loss. A lot of people are shocked in the past when I have mentioned some of these things, and they just cannot believe that someone would say that, and they don't realize that these are things that one, I have been told by numerous amounts of people over the years since my daughter passed away, but these are also things that other people are hearing in response to their loss as well. So instead of just talking about some of the things that I've experienced myself, because I think people use the excuse of that I post about it online, I have a following, and so I have so many more opportunities to have heard these things said to me, when in reality it is just everyday people. Everyone who has unfortunately lost a child is hearing, or is, I shouldn't say everyone, but it's very common, or more common than you think. And you may have been someone to have said these things, and you may not realize as I'm reading it back to you how bad it is, or you might just not realize why it is so bad. I put a question box up on my Instagram, and a lot of the mamas who follow me who have shared a loss like mine have sent in some of the things that they have had said to them, and it is honestly, like, it's upsetting, but it's actually infuriating. I am on my menstrual phase, and I'm in a mood, so let's just remember that as we go through this video. There's a particular comment that pops into my mind at the most random times periodically, which is what prompted me to ask this question in my stories and then make this video talking about it, because in the most random times this comment pops into my mind and it still hurts me so much to this day. These things stick with us forever. So it was at my daughter's funeral. Well, in my culture, when someone passes away, you take them to a marae, and that is where the body stays for a few days or nights, just a short period of time, so that family and friends can come and pay their respects before the actual funeral. So that is when this happened, and I had gotten up to go and talk to another bereaved mother, and I said to her, I feel like I have no more tears left to cry. Someone was walking past when they heard me say that, and they were like, oh, that's great, it means that you're healing. My daughter was not even buried yet, and they were congratulating me on what they believed was a positive thing, thinking that because I didn't, or I was running out of tears to cry, that that was a good thing. And I think this is one of the reasons why I feel like I have to constantly be saying, no matter how good things look for me, I am hurting so much inside. Like, as dramatic as you can make out in your mind for the loss of a child to be, that is probably it. It is soul crushing. It is so painful. And for people to minimize your pain this way, and I was wrong, by the way. I had not run out of tears. I had been crying non-stop, and I was just dry sobbing by this point until my body made some more tears for me to cry. But that particular comment popped up in my head recently, and it hurt the way that it usually hurts, and it can feel really isolating when you think that you're the only one that has this response, like this full body rejection of these comments, when the person that's saying it to you might think that they're doing you a favor, or like they're trying to comfort you or help you in some kind of way. And as the person who has had the loss, you just have this, well, personally, I have this full body rejection. It's such an immense rejection to these positive things that people say to me, and it feels really isolating. But I am not the only one, and this is why I'm going to read some of the responses to the questionnaire, because I'm not the only one experiencing this. So let's go through some of these. There are a lot of the really common ones, which are, they're in a better place. I don't know why people feel the need to make the loss of your child seem like a good thing, because there is no way that you could spin it to make it a good thing. So I don't have to keep repeating myself. This video is for mums who have lost a child. This is not about any other type of family member loss or friend or pet or any other kind of major grief experience. I can't speak to that. I can speak to the loss of a child, and so that is what we're going to focus on in these responses and my comments today. Another one along the same lines is that, and also another really common one, it was God's plan, it was part of God's plan, it was part of our plan. This comment is one of the reasons why I am no longer religious. I was born and raised Mormon. I just feel like I do not want to worship a God that could do that to me. I tried to find comfort, and I got the exact opposite when it came to religion. And though I don't know if there is or there isn't a God, I just do not have any desire to worship someone who could have a plan like that for me. At least you know you can have babies. Just have another baby. You've got more children now. That is so hurtful to suggest that another child could replace your very special baby who is no longer with you. I don't even feel like that needs explaining. Everything happens for a reason. This is one that has come through so many times. It's something that I've been told on numerous occasions, and I personally hate it, because give me a reason. Give me a reason that is good enough for why I had to lose my child. It is so dismissive. One girl said that she knows how I feel because she lost custody of her kid. I personally have had a lot of comparisons made to my loss as well. Because I do have a large following, I bite my tongue when the loss of my baby girl is related to someone's pet passing away or someone's life partner passing away. And I do think that there is a particular way that these comparisons are drawn that really grates and offends and hurts those of us who have just lost our children, as opposed to some other ways that it can be brought up, or less of a comparison and more, yeah, there's just a way that you can say it where it's okay, but like this is not. And the ways that I've had my loss personally related to the loss of a pet or a partner, and I do try to be mindful that for that person it might be the greatest loss that they have ever experienced, and I'm not trying to minimize other types of grief or loss, but let the loss of the child have its place. Someone was told maybe you just weren't meant to be a mum. I haven't been told that, but people on the internet who get really confident behind a keyboard have also made comments about me not being a fit mother, and it actually would rip me in two if those people mattered. So to be told this by someone, that maybe they just weren't supposed to be a mother because their child passed away, is I can't. This response is about a stillbirth, and someone asked why they didn't notice any signs she was going to pass away. If you are going to question or place any blame in your response to someone's loss, just don't. You're too emotional. The amount of times that I have been told that I'm too dramatic, too emotional, too this, too that, and it is always the people who have not lost a child. And they just have so many big opinions about how they think you should act. That's another one that has come through a lot, which is, if I were to have a loss, I would do things differently. I wouldn't have done that. I would not do that. I would do this instead. You have no idea. You have no idea. Even if you think you do, you have absolutely no idea. There are a few different versions of the one that I'm about to read now. It's better that she's passed. Maybe she would cause problems in your life. I saw another one that said they won't have to experience how hoha children are, and hoha in Te Reo Māori means frustrating, annoying, along that line. I've also had people tell me how tiring children are, how hard it would be to have 3 of them running around. To put any negative connotation around having your child here to make you feel better that they're not here is just, that is so mean. You need to look at the positives. Tell me what is so positive about having lost a child. I think this is along the same lines of, at least you can have more children, at least you have other children, at least their twin is still here, at least this, at least that. If it starts with at least, just do not say it. But it doesn't matter what else you have in your life. Nothing, absolutely nothing can replace your child who has passed away. And I think that is the misconception, because you might have, okay, I'll just speak personally, I might have absolutely everything I could have dreamed for in my life. The flashiest house, the best job, more children, holidays, all the gadgets, all the things that I could ever want, and I would still hurt so much for my baby girl, because she cannot be replaced, let alone by things like that. Like, things that money can buy cannot replace your child. Your other children that you have are not replacements for your child that has passed away either. They do not fill the gap. Oh my gosh, someone was told, at least you can drink now. Again, with the at least, just don't. But you can tell that this was said probably by someone who doesn't have children, or at least does not value their children more than a glass of alcohol. Going back to a version of yourself before you had your child or before you lost your child is never going to happen. But also to say that it's better to have that freedom than to have your child alive and well in your arms is actually just so cruel. Oh God, I can relate to this one. She didn't live long enough for you to really know her, so why are you upset? I'm getting emotional just reading that, because I hear this more times than you can count, and it is so hurtful, because those of us who have living children who you have loved for me, that period of time that I got to keep with Noah Lee, I had 9 weeks with her, and I feel like I knew her, or I knew what there was to know about her so deeply. Our connection was so strong, and for people to go, no, you really couldn't have known her that much. 9 weeks, that's like the briefest relationship ever. You shouldn't still be sad about that. First of all, we had them for 9 months in our belly as well, but it doesn't even matter if you didn't get to meet your child earthside, if you even had them for just 1 day or 2 days. As a mum, the connection that you have with your children is so intense. Give me a minute. It's a very stormy day outside as well, so very fitting for these emotions. But I think about Echo and Eva, who I have had the privilege of knowing past 9 weeks old, and I think about just how much I knew of them at that 9-week mark. And it's always like this little milestone, and it's a bit of a validation for me when I get to that point and I go, oh, I know so much about my children already at this 9 weeks. And then as they grow, and I've been able to pat myself on the back and go, yes, you were right, that little tendency that you noticed about their personality, it was true. They are that way even now that they're older, and I've been able to witness that in Echo as he's grown. But I've also obviously had the chance to learn so much more about him too, and it hurts that I will never get to know that much about Noah Lee. But to anyone who has not lost a child, it doesn't matter how much time that mum or that parent got to have with that child. Do not minimize that pain. I'm sorry if you can't hear me that well over the rain. It's coming and it's going, so I think I will just do a few more and then wrap it up. This person who had a stillbirth was told by someone who had a miscarriage, I was over my loss by 3 months. Let's not tell someone how to grieve just because you think the way that you have done it is the right way. Just because I deal with my grief by speaking openly about Noah Lee, by talking about the way that I feel, by getting it all out in the open, that doesn't mean that every lost mum should have to do that. That doesn't mean that it's the only right way to grieve. But also, if you feel like your journey in grief is easier than someone else who is experiencing their grief, that does not mean that they are overreacting, or that they are pretending, or that they are dramatizing their loss. They are just experiencing it different than you. Someone called this mum a crybaby because she was crying over her son. Honestly, we can't make these things up, and my followers are always so shocked when I talk about or share some of the comments that I get told, things that people say to me, and luckily for me, I don't know if lucky is the right word, but people online that say these sorts of dismissive things to me, I can just put it in the box of who are you to me? Absolutely no one. But for a lot of the people that are making these responses, it's more likely to be people who they wanted more from, friends, family, co-workers, people who they just really wished they would hear the right thing from. Now, I will do a part 2 to this video, and we will talk about some of the things that we actually appreciated in response to our loss, because I feel like it's a little bit unfair to say all of these things that were said were wrong. I mean, like, come on, some of these are so obviously wrong, so rude, so dismissive. It is so obvious, and yet they are the common platitudes that we hear over and over again. But I also know that for a lot of people, they just really don't know what to say, and so you end up saying these stupid things. But you might actually care and want to know what would be a nice response. So I will do a part 2 and we will talk about those things. I've totally forgotten about my matcha, and it was the last one in the packet. They're all the way from Japan. My parents are traveling over there and they bought some back for me because they know I love matcha, and I cannot get stuff like this here in NZ. So I do need to drink that. The remaining responses are, majority of them, a lot of similar things that I've already talked about, said differently. She's with Jesus now, maybe it's a sign you're not with God, it wasn't your time, you weren't meant to be a mum. Oh my God, I can't believe people say that, even though I've heard it said to myself a million it wasn't meant to be's. You're lucky you have other children, you have their twins still here, God needed his angel back, someone's mother-in-law told them not to put them through that again. Just forget about her, moving on by forgetting, and live your life. I feel like you can assume a lot of these are said by people who have not lost a child, but as we know, as we've read, some of these are also said by people who have. You might also assume that a lot of this is said in the early stages of grief when you have just recently lost your child, but these are things that are consistently said to me. There's always this timeline set by people, and these things are repeated to us until we reach a point where other people are happy with how we are behaving in our grief, which basically means that they don't have to see it, or they don't recognize it, or they can on the outside assume that you are fully healed, or that you only openly grieve around birthdays or holidays or moments when they deem it appropriate for you to show how you feel about your loss. We'll finish on this last one. Someone I thought really cared about me told me I should be over it by now. It's so upsetting that these are not singular responses. This is not one person who thought this way to one person. There are a lot of people who feel this way about witnessing grief, who think you need to get over it when they deem it appropriate to be over it. And you know what? We just don't. We don't get over it, and that might look different to other people. You might express it differently over the years. I definitely know that I have expressed it differently over the years. I think I've talked about this analogy before. I saw it again last night on my feed, so I'm going to talk about it again. But there's this analogy that grief does not shrink over time. Grief stays the same and life grows around grief. There's different versions of that where, because grief stayed the same and life got bigger around it, grief touches the edges being where the pain strikes, a lot less when the life has grown around it. My first issue with this is that it assumes that grief stays the same, that whatever pain you felt when you had that loss stays that way forever, exactly the same, and then you get all this extra joy around it. And some people might agree with that. I personally disagree. As life happens, I get new things to be sad about. I get new experiences to have missed with Noah, and so I agree, life gets bigger, life happens around the loss, and for me that is a whole part of the grief, is to see more time passing, to watch more interactions between my son and my little baby girl that they never get to have with their older sister. And every single day I get to experience that. I get to experience more loss, more time without Noah. And so I don't think there is a timeline. I don't think that I will, no, It's not that I don't think, I know that I will never ever 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 be over Noah-Lee, and personally I'm okay with making that known to everybody. Some of the comments that were responded in there, but also something that I have been told, is that I'm being dramatic or trying to get attention when I talk about my loss. First of all, if by attention you mean I want my grief to be witnessed and acknowledged, then abso-fucking-lutely I do. I want Noah-Lee to be known. I want everyone to know how important she is, how much I love her, and how much it hurts that she is not here. And I'm okay with showing that for a very, 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 very long time. You know, for me, I just have this immense fear that some stranger on the street is gonna look at me and be like, oh, she looks happy, she looks good, when I just feel like everyone who meets me needs to know that part of me is missing. I need them to know about Noah-Lee. But anyway, I just heard my little girl, she's still got a little while to sleep, so she might go back to sleep, but I will wrap it up here. I think this is going to be a long video anyway. I'll try to cut out too much of the jibber jabber, but I will do a part 2, not today because I have run out of time. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something from this. Mamas, I hope you felt validated. Anyway, I hope this video was something. See you next time.